Welcome back to Bayou Time. It's now my pleasure to be joined by Lafourche Parish President Archie Chaisson. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good to see you, Jacob.
All right, I know we're still a long way to go with some hurricane recovery. We're making some progress, but tell us where you are.
Yeah, I use the term normal very loosely these days, but for a lot of us, it's in a lot of Lafourche, the parish has turned back to normal. Unfortunately, we still have a lot of citizens who are dealing with housing issues that continues to struggle with. Our debris program actually wrapped up at the end of last week. We've picked up close to right over 2 million cubic yards of debris parish-wide, as well as about 20,000 yards on some state routes that we were trying to assist DOTD with getting some stuff cleaned up. So we're really made some really good progress in cleaning the place up. We do recognize, although the River Birch Energy, Renewable Energy, who's our typical debris contractor or garbage contractor, has taken over kind of the smaller piles of debris with their grapple trucks. We fully realize that over the coming probably 6 to 8 months, we're still going to have people that are just now having insurance payments come through or just now getting to the point where they're gutting their homes. So we're going to see continuous piles of debris come out. So kind of the game plan that we've initiated is that once we get to a point where we have a decent amount of trash, right, probably 20, 30, 40,000 cubic yards on the side of the roads, we'll bring DRC back down, who's our debris contractor, and let them run the big trucks, and grab that stuff. And then they're gonna do that over the course of probably a week or two. They're going to disappear for another 3 or 4 weeks. Some more piles may show up. We'll reactivate them and come back down. It's just not it's not fiscally prudent right now to keep them here and just waste their time and ours when we don't have a whole bunch of material out there. The last few days of the debris contract last week, they were picking up about 400 cubic yards a day. In the height of this, we were doing about 20,000 cubic yards a day. So it's vastly diminished. So that debris operation will help out. We know River Birch, as great of a company as they are that they do with our garbage pickup, they won't be able to handle the larger volume stuff that comes up. And we've talked through it with them, which is why we're kind of picking up a schedule with DRC to continue that debris. Housing continues to push through. If you guys have noticed, we've run several public notices for FEMA about some of these large group sites that they plan on building. There's about 600 or so pads or sites that they want to build to put the FEMA modular homes, the mobile homes on, whether it's the 1, 2, or 3 bedroom options. They were supposed to be at our council meeting last night. Unfortunately, because of the weather, the severe weather that impacted our area, they did not show up. They had some travel restrictions. So we're going to host kind of, not going to be a special council meeting, but kind of a special town hall meeting next Tuesday at 6 p.m. where FEMA's going to come in and do that presentation on the group sites, how they did their EHP reviews, their historic preservation reviews, how they picked those sites, and kind of what those next steps are. We've been very upfront and honest with people that we do have some concerns about traffic and safety and security. FEMA's ready to address those with the public. We've talked to Superintendent Martin about the influx of possible kids we could have into the school systems based on where these camps or sites are going to be located, as well as talking to local police chiefs, mayors, and the sheriff about everything else ancillary to that, along with our fire chiefs about fire protection. So we hope to get some good answers from them. But look, at the end of the day, even if we build these 4 large group sites, they are still telling us that we're 330 sites short of what we need to continue or capture everybody who needs housing assistance, which is kind of odd to me. I wouldn't think the numbers are still that high, but the fact that we have that many people that still need to be taken care of is tough. So I think we're well on our way. The back end of this is always the fight with FEMA, right? To get our money back for not only what we spent up front. I guess a couple of 3 weeks ago now, we got our first kind of reimbursement back from FEMA.
That's nice. That's pretty quick.
It is. And for all things, it was for mosquito spraying. The extra spraying we had done post-storm to kind of damper down the mosquito population. But now we're on to those big ticket items. We're on to the $30+ million in building damage that we know we're going to have. We're into the $40 million worth of infrastructure damage to our pump stations that we have. And when I talk about pump station damage, I'm not talking about just a couple pieces of tin off the roof. I'm talking about, we need to stop this pump station from falling into the canal, right? It's going to be an extensive amount of money. And then all the ancillary services, all the recreation stuff, so our kids can start playing ball again during the summer when t-ball and baseball come up. And how do we fix those light structures or put up temporary lights so they can play at night and practice in the evening? We talk about the building damage to our courthouse, the district attorney's office. We have 35 buildings, I think, spread out across Lafourche Parish. It's going to be a monumental task to do all of that. But we have a great team of folks that are putting it all together. And just how do we get that money back? And in a quick way, where we know we're not going to really be whole by this hurricane season. So knock on wood, hurricane season is going to just roll right by us and nothing's going to happen. Which I think is everybody's prayer this year while we're in this process. But the fact that we can put all this stuff back together, and then how do we do the ancillary stuff? You know, how do we focus on the regular parish stuff while we're still doing all the storm stuff?
Now, I know Terrebonne went out for about $50 million in bonds, and I think of the levy district we had to go out. We're going out for $25 million. Have a special meeting coming up now, just to cover all the expenses that you have until you get that FEMA reimbursement. Have you all had to do anything like that?
Yeah, so we kind of took a small bite of the apple the first time. We bonded out in coordination with the council about $10 million. So that got us to the point where we can get the architects and engineers rolling on a lot of these projects. We can start to pay for them to do their design work and their assessments. And then my plan was not to go ask the council for a large amount, right? Because as much as we have a great working relationship, I'm pretty sure they would have looked at me like I was stupid if I went and asked for $100 million just off the cuff, right? So our plan is that we're going to start all the assessments, start the design work, feed all of that information into FEMA into their damage inventory. And then about the time that their engineering is wrapping up, FEMA approves that damage inventory, then that's going to be probably the middle of the summer. And then I'm going to be ready to go have a positive number that I can go to the council with and say, look, I need 85 or 90 or $100 million. And look, by the way, here's the FEMA obligated project that says we're going to be paid back, so we know we're going to get our money back. We're not taking a huge risk, right? Which will help us, I think, on the bond market. We'll get better interest rates and stuff that way, and we'll get more bang for our buck. So we're gonna start to pull the trigger on that over the course of the next couple of months, because it takes about 3 months, and you know this well, to get the bonding attorneys and the underwriters in place. So we're going to pull the trigger on that shortly. But yeah, we're going to have to go after a big pot of money like everybody else.
Flood insurance, I know that might, a lot of people might have that on their mind. You know, they might have had it or might not have had it last year, and it's something that's always good to have, but it's got to be reasonable to be able to pay for.
Yeah, no doubt, Jacob. And we've been talking about this, and I got to give a lot of credit to Dwayne Bourgeois over the Lafourche Parish District. He's been kind of on this bandwagon since what we like to refer to as Biggert Waters of 2012, when they tried this whole insurance reform back then, and literally took an act of Congress to fix it. And we worked with GNO Inc. There's the Coalition for Sustainable Flood Insurance. It's a whole host of people from the National Bankers and Realtors and Contractors Association, the local government officials, levy districts, and we staved that off. And then probably about a year and a half ago, this whole model of risk rating 2.0 came up. And we started to dive into it. Dwayne started to dive into it. We got really involved in it when we took office back in kind of in the height of COVID, when it kind of started to pop up, and started to do a deep dive in it. And it's freakishly maddening the way FEMA came up with this process, right? And it's not, when Biggert Waters happened, it was actually a congressional act. This is just a rule somebody made up and said, let's implement it. There's really been no hearings on it. There's really been no studies about it. It was just something somebody in FEMA dreamed up. And we've talked about it several times on this show and in other media outlets, because we're seeing premiums jump through the roof. In a lot of cases, and I use my personal house as an example, I am not in a flood zone in the middle of central Lafourche part of the parish. Not in a flood zone, never flooded. My house has been there since 1973. We bought it from an older couple. And my flood insurance has risen slowly over the years, right? It started about $400 years ago when we bought the house, probably 10, 15 years ago. But in the coming year, when we renew it, we're going to jump from about $500 to about $4,000.
Oh, wow.
It's crazy. And you're going to see that rate happen over and over again until you get to what they truly call those actuarial rates. It's only supposed to rise by, I think, a max of 18% a year. But people are going to see these busts coming, and especially if they renew after April 1st. So, but I guess about a month ago now, we had a conversation. The National Association of Counties, because of what we've been doing here in Louisiana, has really taken notice of Risk Rating 2.0. And they actually did a presentation. It was the Chief Resiliency Officer for FEMA came in and did this whole presentation about how it was fair and equitable, all the buzzwords this administration uses, and how this was going to be a great thing across the country because more people were going to be putting into the pot. We're going to spread the risk more. The program is going to become more solvent. And when he took questions, I said, sir, first of all, I don't think this is fair and equitable because look what's happening here. And I said, what's going to happen is you're going to have people start to turn in their keys to you. And you're actually going to decrease the risk pool and make the program more insolvent than you will by doing this. And I gave him that example. I've given him, we've turned in hundreds of examples to Congressman Scalise's office. He opened up a web portal that people can actually plug in these examples as you get your policies renewed, especially if it happening now or right after April. And his response, which was completely maddening, was, well, guys, if that's what you're hearing from your agent, then maybe you should find another agent. And And I stuttered step for a second because I didn't know what to say, and I went, guys, it's a federal program. It doesn't matter who our agent
Exactly.
is. It's the same price no matter who we talk to.
Tells you how much they know.
How
about
much
it.
they know, right? So it's maddening. There's been a ton of press over the last couple weeks because it's finally starting to catch some fire. I think because people are finally starting to see those rate increases. The Coalition for Sustainable Flood Insurance is doing a roundtable on Tuesday with a host of parish presidents and some other folks. And there's going to be a press event after that over in Metairie next week. And I'm actually going to do it on my way to the airport. We're flying out for a conference the middle of next week. But it's going to be another one of those issues where we bring up all these things we're hearing from our local residents, and especially a true slap in the face is now that we've had Ida. Mm-hmm. It happened. But guess what? Ida severely impacted the Gulf Coast and Lafourche and Terrebonne, St. Charles, St. John. But it also flooded Manhattan. So are you going to go to the billionaires in Manhattan and jack up their flood insurance? I want to see if that happens. I really do. Sure. But look, we're working through it. I'm hopeful Senator Cassidy has a bill, and I talked to his staffers yesterday to try to figure out a way to delay it. We're hoping that gets some traction. But we're doing a host of things here locally to try to starve it off. And you know, we got a new set of flood maps just before Hurricane Ida in July. We still have some issues with them. We sent them more comments, so we're still working through that. So maybe that'll make a difference. Some elevation requirements will come down. Maybe there's some grandfathering provisions. The parish is working hard to get into what we call the community rating system. The parish was back in the early days. Lafourche actually got kicked out in the mid '80s because some council actions and some variances. But we're working hard to get back into that program to hopefully provide, depending on how many points you have and how they grade you, you can actually get a percentage off of your flood insurance for your residents. So we're working very hard to get back into that program, and we have some staff working on that now. So I'm hopeful that happens. But we're working on coastal projects and other things to help protect our levee system so we don't ever flood, right? Because then we're going to see tremendous rate increases as well. So we're meeting with all the major coastal landowners, and I'm leaving here and going down the street to ConocoPhillips in a few minutes to meet with them as well, to talk to those guys about coastal projects, how we can partner, how we can pool our resources, and how we can rebuild those wetland systems. It was important before Ida, but it's really important now. I mean, that is the buffer, and you know this well too, Jake, that it's a buffer against our levee system. And if we don't have that, and those wetlands did all they could to protect us from Hurricane Ida, and we need to put it back into some shape or form or fashion, so we have some protection going into the future.
And you can see, I just went right out there, you know, towards the Pointe-a-Shannon area, just all the damage that happened to the marsh. You know, you see just big mud waves that were just made because of Ida that used to be marsh somewheres, and it's not anymore. So there's a lot of rebuilding that needs to happen.
No doubt. And it's every effect, right? We saw what happened last night in the Nola Ninth Ward, and our prayers go out to President McGinnis and his crew in St. Bernard and in Araby for not only the death that they have, that unfortunate 25-year-old that passed away, but just the wreckage that they're going through now, even after being impacted by Ida. So there's always seems to be something lurking around the corner for us.
Well, we thank you for being out there and putting in the hard work, and you're doing a great job.
Thanks, Jake. Appreciate it.
Stay tuned for more right here on HTV.